I'd like to welcome everybody to the October 17th Lewiston work session. I ask everybody to please turn off all cell phones, pagers, and electronic devices. Assistive listening devices available for the Aaron. Let's go to 3-5.
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
At this time, I'd ask for a moment of silent reflection, please. Thank you very much. So at this time, we will start the public hearing on the special use permit, site plan review for the Borrego PIVA solar energy system on Williams Road.
Please take notice that a public hearing will be held by the town of Lewiston, town board, United County, New York, on the 17th day of October, 2019, commencing at 6 p.m. at Town Hall, to hear and consider the following property and property owner applicant: Richard and Adrian Piva, Borrego Solar, property location 4352 Williams Road, Lansing, New York, to consider application for a special use permit and site plan review for a ground-mounted utility-grade solar energy system on said premises. All interested parties will be heard by the town board at said public hearing. The order of the town board, September 23rd, 2019.
Thank you very much. Evelyn Lauer.
Could I give an overview first? I mean, I'd be happy to, but if you just want to go with the comments.
Do you want, before you guys speak, would you like to hear an overview?
Absolutely.
Okay, as long as everybody's okay with that. Okay,
All right.
thank you.
I'm going to be over here, so I'm going to yell out. Hopefully you all can hear me. My name is Mark Kenward. I'm with Urban Anthony Consulting Engineers. We're assisting Borrego with the local approvals for this project. This project will construct and operate a 7.2 megawatt DC ground-mounted community solar energy system at 4352 Williams Road. It's located on the west side of the road, approximately 2,250 feet north of Swan Road, and has historically been actively tilled farmland. This first exhibit I have here is of the overall site. It's a 97.65 acre parcel of land. It has about 1,100 feet of frontage on Williams Road and is 3,980 feet deep. This essentially encompasses approximately the project we're proposing encompasses about 28.5 acres of land on the eastern half of the parcel. This includes 17.8 acres within a fenced solar array and 0.63 acres of access driveway that extends in 1,340 feet in from Williams Road. We're proposing about 3.4 acres of tree clearing along the southern boundary of the field. As I said, aerial utilities will extend in about 200 feet from Williams Road, and after that, everything is underground. Utility scale solar projects such as this are allowed and regulated under the Town of Lewiston zoning code. Utility scale solar like this one being proposed are allowed in rural residential districts as well as industrial zones. This proposed project is in a rural residential zoning district. The site layout has been designed and laid out in accordance with the Town of Lewiston Solar Energy Code. Some of the requirements include a minimum lot size of 5 acres and a maximum lot area of 100. As I mentioned a moment ago, this project is on a 97.65 acre lot. I'm going to talk about setbacks. The required minimum front setback is 200 feet, and the proposed Williams Road front setback is 536 feet. The required minimum side setback is 100 feet, and the proposed minimum side setback in this case is 108 feet. The required minimum rear setback is 100 feet, and the proposed rear setback is 1,828 feet. There's also required setbacks to existing dwellings as follows. 250 feet to any existing dwelling on the subject parcel. The distance to the landowner's residence is 465 feet. The code also requires 500 feet of setback to any existing dwelling on adjoining lands. The distance to the nearest dwelling on the adjoining lot is 513 feet. That would be the Lauer property. Did I say that right?
Yes, you did.
Thank you. And the maximum allowed height is 20 feet from grade level, and on this site, the maximum height is 9 feet. We were here last month at the town board meeting, and since then we've made some changes since we were last here. Based on concerns expressed by the neighbor across the road, the driveway entrance was shifted south 25 feet, and landscaping in the form of tree plantings was added along the Williams Road frontage and along the access driveway up closer to the field. And again, this was in response to the neighbor's concerns at 4339 Williams Road. We've also reduced the access driveway length by 460 feet, and we consolidated the turnarounds to one turnaround with the equipment pads, and we reduced the tree clearing by 1.5 acres. During construction, the construction of this facility is environmentally friendly. Only minor amounts of excavation and grading work is required. As I mentioned, some tree clearing and stump grubbing is going to occur along the south boundary, along the southern edge of the field. Some minor and limited site regrading is proposed in the area of the equipment pad and for 3 culvert drainage ditch crossings. Upon completion, the site will be fenced and planted to a meadow grass. The remainder of the site west of the proposed solar array can still remain in agricultural use. During construction, the project will generate approximately 50 vehicle trips per day. That's 25 arriving and 25 exiting. And this includes construction-related deliveries and employees. Once the project is in operation, it will generate no discernible noise to neighboring receptors, no adverse glare, and no traffic, and there is no nighttime site lighting. Maintenance activity is limited to mowing up to 2 times per year and an occasional visit by electrical service technicians. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark. Evelyn Lauer.
On September 23rd, I spoke at the town board meeting where I expressed my concerns for and opposition to a proposed utility-grade solar facility to be built next door to me. Some of my concerns revolve around how a power plant would change the rural feel, character, and environment of our small community neighborhood. I'm not against alternative energy sources. I am, however, against indiscriminately siting industrial solar facilities, and in this case of this proposed one, I'm very much concerned with how it will affect our community and if it will ruin our neighborhood. When visiting Borrego's website, I came across the statement, "Our job as a land developer is to identify the right parcels of land suitable for utility-scale solar projects." On the list of characteristics Borrego considers when evaluating if a property is right for solar, I read the #1 characteristic is that it is located near a large town or city. Our small 1-acre road can hardly be classified as being located near a town or city. The Sentinel reported that the property in question has historically been used as active farmland. How does that fit in with Borrego's position that they are putting unused open spaces to work? According to the town's zoning on solar energy systems, the town board finds a growing need to properly site all types of solar energy systems within the boundaries of the town of Lewiston to protect residential, business areas, and other land uses to preserve the overall beauty, nature, and character of the town of Lewiston. How is allowing an industrial power plant next door protecting my residential area? If you approve this application, how is that preserving the all-over beauty, nature, and character of the town of Lewiston, and specifically the nature and character of Williams Road? I have many questions, and as a resident whose property directly borders this proposed project, I feel the town has deserted me by keeping me out of the loop on the entire proposal and planning stages of this facility until forced to address residents' concerns. And still more questions arise. Can the town of Borrego guarantee that my life, my home, and my property values will not be impacted? Does Borrego plan on taking measures to limit the impact of this facility and transform it in a way that we won't hear or see this sprawling facility that will be constructed a mere 100 feet from my property line? Do they have any idea if there are health risks or issues connected with long-term exposure to industrial solar facilities? Has Borrego ever been sued to stop a facility from being forced into an area when the residents are opposed to it? If so, how many times and what were the outcomes? When I purchased my property 25 years ago, I wanted to put down roots in a rural and country setting. If I wanted a home in an industrial location, I would have chosen to live in areas of Niagara Falls, Lockport, or Buffalo. If you permit this facility to be constructed, it will change the nature, the character, and the feel of my home, my property, and my neighborhood for the rest of my life. Some people have told me that this is a done deal and already slated for approval. Is tonight's meeting being held to placate the residents so this proposal can be rubber stamped and the approval driven home? As I said in September, it certainly feels as if everyone is trying to push this through without the residents being made aware of what's going on. My final plea to the town board is this: please, do not ruin this great neighborhood. Williams Road is not an appropriate location for a utility-grade solar facility. This is not an industrial road and should be kept this way. Thank you.
Thank you. Andrew Nichols.
Good evening. I actually live up on 104. I found out about this project about a week and a half ago because, come to find out, I have recently found out that there is now a third project that the same energy company is looking at, which is directly adjacent to me. So when I looked into it, I realized that not only have we got the one that's being developed currently on Swan Road at the master's property, we're now behind the master property on Williams Road, and now we're moved also to a piece of property that's directly adjacent to me between Swan and 104. And to be honest with you, my family's been on the piece of property. I'm a fifth generation fruit farmer. We've been here for 140 years, over 200 years in this county. I took a class actually with Mr. Guyman 26 years ago. It's called Participation in Government. And he encouraged us all to come to board meetings and talk about, concerns and issues that get involved, basically. And I came here a year ago and I got involved in the master's project and voiced our concerns, and several residents did the same thing. We all voiced our concerns about the master's project. I think there was at least 30 adjacent residents that basically said, we really don't support this project. Yet, the town board chose to approve the project. And yeah, I think there was a lawsuit about it, and that didn't end up going anywhere. And I guess I'm here again tonight to say, I'm gonna voice the same concern. These projects, just like Evelyn just stated, they don't belong out in the country. You could call it a solar farm, but it's not a farm. A farm is using the land for agricultural purposes to grow food. It's what I do. The website, the town website, has this great paragraph in the beginning that talks about the historic character, the attractive neighborhoods, the working farms, scenic vistas, quaint shops, vineyards. I'm actually the first vineyard as you come out of the village of Lewiston and you see all those beautiful vineyards on 104, both sides of the road, 75 acres of grapes, juice grapes that I grow for Welch's. That's my operation. I got hundreds of people stop and say, boy, those vineyards are beautiful. We love the smell of the grapes in the fall. We love those cherry trees when they're in blossom. I can guarantee you, there's nobody driving down Swan Road that's looking out their window saying, boy, that solar farm is a beautiful thing. I love when solar panels are in bloom. I love when solar panels, the smell of them when they're bright. Boy, they really smell good. I don't think anyone's saying that. You can come up to my farm. I've been picking grapes on the hillside for the past month and look down over that and see that field of steel. It does not belong in our neighborhood. It does not belong there. Another one on Williams Road does not belong there. Another one that's going to be potentially placed right next to me does not belong there. I have thousands of dollars I invest in my property to grow crops. And you're going to just destroy it by allowing steel and glass panels to be built around me. And this was a concern I brought up last year. I said, you allow special use on one property, what's going to happen? We're going to create the Swan Road Solar Corridor. What's happening? We got a 17-acre one on the master's property. We got 28 acres on Williams Road. Potentially 20 acres next to me. 65 acres. Wow, in a year we're almost a third of the way to the 200 acres I stated. And let's see, what was the meeting that I was here? August 27, 2018. And you know what the comment was from the solar panel company? The substation here at the end of Model City Road and over could only handle maybe 1 or 2 projects of the 17-acre size that Masters. Gosh, it sounds to me like we're almost up to 4 times that. So either there's more capacity in the substation or somebody's spending a lot of money in that substation. Again, I think that the town has created by allowing the special use permit without really thinking about the big plan. We've created something that we really have no way to stop it now. The solar company, whether it's a radio or, hey, I got this today in the mail. Here's a solar company and this is one of probably 20 letters that I have received in the last 4 to 5 years of, we like your property. We want to build a solar farm on your property. They've identified us. That's what they want. We're going to have, like I said, hundreds of acres of this. And I have to live with it. My family has been here, stewarded the land. We have farmed here for 140 years. And this is what we're doing. We're destroying it. To be honest with you, I'm not going to idly sit by. I will come here to every board meeting, every time one of these projects is planned, and I won't complain. You may say, hey, we can't do anything, we've got to rubber stamp it. Because we've already allowed one, we got to allow them all. I'm going to complain every time. And to be honest with you, some of you are up for election this year, I can't vote for any of you. Because if this is how you treat residents, you don't take our concerns, like we had last year, you don't take them into consideration, you just approve projects. Sorry, you lost my vote. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Jason Lombardi.
I'm a resident on Williams Road, 4339 Williams Road. I have questions, basically, to the town board. With like what Andrew said, back a year ago when it said, maybe 1, maybe 2, and now there's talk of 4, there's talk, there's just talk of every property owner around this area is getting contacted by, like, these companies. Do you guys have like a limit? Is there something that you're gonna be able to say, we're only allowing this many of these solar farms and so many, 2, 3 square miles or something like that? Like, that's what, us as residents want to know. Like, I'm looking at, and that's the other thing. I'm looking at selling my house that I killed myself to build out in that area. That you don't know where to go now. You know what I mean? Like, what's the town gonna do? And then, there's no property near the village. There's no property, so the beautiful property we have that we would get people to want to come move here to Lewiston and to develop, we're making it an industrial park. So I just don't see how that's even gonna benefit the town as a whole, keep letting these things go up, and how's it gonna, attract people to want to come to Lewiston where, we all know that we're running out of property developed near the village, and the village is a huge, a beautiful spot to be. And Lewiston was a great spot to be, but like how many of these things are you guys gonna allow in this area?
There hasn't been a decision made on that yet. So it's something that's going to be considered. I think we talked about it.
I mean, why can't that be put into this solar law that you guys,
Well,
just to give the
we have to
residents
revisit the law. We
some
have to
kind of,
revisit the law.
because right now we're all under the same thing, like how many of these things are gonna come up? I mean, we just, there's too much unknown, and it's, and it's, like Andrew said, I mean, I have not even 5 acres, and we were contacted by a solar light, so it's scary. And something that you worked, your whole life to beautify, and anyone can say that it's not going to affect the value of my property. It 100% is. 100%. I'd like all you to tell me how that isn't.
I think the story we were told was similar to what we heard earlier, is that the capacity for that area could only handle so many of these solar panels before you just couldn't put any more input into the system. So at least my impression was that it would tap out itself, that there would be a limit to it, and then it wouldn't be commercially viable anymore. If that's no longer the case, then I don't know, but certainly something we should investigate.
I mean, I'm not on the town board, but I know already they're gonna invest into the infrastructure of to be able to increase the grid. I mean, so,
Mark,
the writing.
is that something Borrego's doing currently?
No, so National Grid has a limitation on what they will allow. There is a capacity on that substation.
And have they made upgrades to that substation?
They've made upgrades to allow for our sites, but it's not substantial enough to allow for a flood of solar arrays to be interconnected. I mean, we're talking $10, $20 million worth of upgrades that would need to be put in place. And National Grid has to approve those, and there has to be a demand for that energy. So if the demand doesn't exist, they're not going to allow for these upgrades to be put in place. And we've seen that on other substations across New York State.
Are you able to quantify about how many of these the current substation would be able to handle?
We can certainly get you something from National Grid that gives that sort of statement.
We need to communicate with National Grid ourselves.
Right.
Get the
Well,
right-
if you could do that and also give us contact information.
Yeah.
So provide both, that would be great.
How many substations are there in this area?
Lewiston has 2.
You're both in that area?
No, Swan
Just
Road is
one.
one, and then there's one that's down in the San Juan region.
So are both of these projects being connected to Model City, to the one here at the end of Model City Road? Both of these projects, the Masters project and the 28 acre?
That's correct.
So obviously, there's at least enough capacity for, we're talking here, over 40 acres. And the fact that my neighbor, there's just been a significant amount of engineering done on his property in the past week and a half. There's another 20-acre parcel that's being investigated heavily. So, like I said, we're at 65 acres that we're talking. I mean, admit that at least. Is there 65 acres that you're looking at?
So the third site, we have not gotten approval from National Grid on that. That's something that we're coordinating.
And all the people behind us on Dickersonville are being approached for the property behind us, next to us. We've been approached, not just by you, but by other companies out of New York City. And they're offering like upwards of $250,000 for the parcels behind us. So it's going crazy. Like, we're gonna be surrounded.
We can get you guys that coordination. from
Okay.
National Grid.
Thank you. Brian Sully or Scully?
Scully, thank you.
Scully.
Good evening. I would like to be one of the many opposed to the newest proposal of a solar project currently on Swan Road. While it hasn't been brought before the board yet, past precedent has shown that by the time the proposal actually comes to this room, a decision may have already been made. We built our house 8 years ago, this month, on a piece of family property in the country. We wanted our children to grow up with the opportunity to appreciate nature and to be able to play outside and come back in when it got dark, or they got hungry. It's usually when they're hungry. Nightly walks with our dog to the sound of coyotes and the wind across the corn stalks are familiar sounds. We are not much for neighborhoods, and we love every minute of being a Swan Road resident. Our neighbor owns a large piece of property that is bordered by ridge and swan. For as long as I can remember, he has leased this land to a local farmer. And we look forward to the harvest every year and have become friends with the equipment operators as they happily offer my sons the chance to ride on the combine and showing them the ins and outs of how modern farming works. Both of these experiences are being threatened. The property owner told me this week that he was approached to install a 20-acre solar farm on his property. Again, I am against this proposal. Nightly walks next to the hum of generators and the cold view of the backside of solar panels are not what we envisioned when choosing to move to Swan Road. Last year, even against strong opposition, the board voted unanimously to approve the solar project just down the street from me. This minimally invasive visual aspect can now be seen from my son's bedroom window, and the view from my in-laws' house on Ridge Road has forever been transformed due to this project. Excuse me if I seem cynical, but the project last year only benefits one person, which is the property owner. My utility bill won't decrease, and the rural atmosphere, which I moved to the country for, has been eroded. And this newest proposal, which again has not come to you yet, who knows how far along this project has already gone, and it would benefit one person, the property owner. It was 22 years ago that the same teacher that Andrew mentioned told me that government representatives are servants of the people, and if enough people voice their opinions, the government officials would make decisions based on these voices. It seems that in the past 2 years, that those with positions of power or with lots of money seem to have bigger voices than residents that would be affected. You opened the door on these solar projects, claiming that there weren't any laws on the books to deny the original one. These companies with no vested interest in our community will keep walking through these doors until you shut them. Let me be clear, I am not opposed to solar energy. I am a 7th grade science teacher. There are many great pieces of property that could host solar panels, perhaps on top of a landfill, which this company touts on their website that they have installed before. Or on Lake Road, there's plenty of property across from the water that has horse farms. These locations would reap the same benefits to those involved and garner less complaints from the inhabitants. Finally, let me once again stress that we do not want further development on Swan Road for solar panels. I implore the board to immediately take action to set limits on the addition of these. Areas zoned for agriculture should not be threatened by supposed farms, which do not belong alongside cherries, grapes, wheat, and corn. Thank you.
Thank you, Brian. John Grabowski.
Thank you. I didn't prepare a speech like everybody else up here today. I basically, I'm going to start out, as Mrs. Lauer said, I'm not opposed to alternative energies. And I understand this is kind of the way of the future. It's everywhere. It's going to be everywhere. I work for a company that makes the products that builds these solar panels, do that. We supply a lot of material to Chinese worldwide for photovoltaic industry. And I work directly for them. So I understand the whole scope of solar energy. They teach us this at our plant. I mean, we go to seminars, we see the panels. So I've been with this now for like 10 years already. The problem I have, I guess, is this board, when you drafted this Energy Code 360, or the Solar Energy Code 360, I believe it's called, in reading it, you kind of omit a few things. Look, Mr. Peebles' property here. He has a large piece of property. 100 acres is a big piece of land. You take something like this and you place it at the back part of the property. You place these energy fields where you can't see them. Most of Lewiston is vacant old farmland or cornfields that are a mile off the roads. That's where these places belong. You put them where areas where it doesn't interfere with the locals. Like Mr. Lombardi's house across the street from him. 500 feet seems like a lot of feet. It's not. Timmy's house, Timmy's is 528 feet. You look at it from, you'll probably be able to read the writing on some of the solar panels at 528 feet. I mean, that thought had to be, you missed that thought, or I'm not sure if you people are all present when this was drawn up, but you know, I can't blame anybody individually, but these are the things that you need to consider going forward. When you have this much land to work with, why do you put these things right up front and invade the area with it? And that's what these people are talking about as an invasion of their privacy, their financial well-being. Mr. Lombardi may lose a substantial amount of money on his home. I know the Sonoyans probably will. I mean, you got to feel for these people. Nobody here is going to give them any credit for it. Look, you're not going to lower their taxes or they're not going to give them free electricity for their loss. I mean, they are going to bear the brunt of that loss solely on them. And that's for the gain of Barajo or Timmy or, you know, or Mr. Peter. I mean, these people are gaining, people are losing. That's the focus. You, as the representatives of us, And I know you represent Mr. Piva and Mr. Masters. It's understandable. They're landowners and they have the right to do things with their land, but they need to do it in a respectful manner. And I think putting things out front is not respectful. When people lose money, that's not respectful. And that's where you gotta go with this. You gotta think that route. Even with Mr. Piva's property now. Things are negotiable. Move this thing back. How many feet did you say that was off the back was off the property line? The back of the,
1,800 feet.
all right, and how many feet does he go back?
Almost 4,000 feet.
Yeah, well, there you go. That thing can move back an easy 1,000 feet without being a problem. It may be a little more cost to the energy builder of this thing, but that is their respect for the people that are living in this area. That's the respect these people need to show us. We've invested our money. We pay big taxes. We don't pay cheap taxes on these properties. And we're actually getting booted here, as far as I see it. So negotiate this with Barragio. Have them move it back. Have them move it out of sight so Jason and his wife don't see these things. And even for Mr. Masters' property, put a berm, a natural tree line, something covered, so that when you drive by it, you ain't looking at an iron beast, because that's basically what you're looking at. The land doesn't sprout metallics. It only sprouts plant life and trees, and and this
Just
is
so you
what.
know, there is screening. There's screening that's gonna go on.
Yeah, well, yeah,
And I
I
think
don't
for
know
future-
the finer points
Yeah.
of Timmy's. I didn't get involved in this. I probably should have, but I didn't. And the screening being what, though? I've never
There's a whole
seen.
screening plan. If you came into the office, see it, it's, I think, white pines and,
So that is gonna be a plan.
yeah.
I'm glad. I mean, this is getting cleared up for me. And that's something that I would appreciate as a neighbor, and I drive by his place every day.
Right.
And that would be a good thing. That I can see. I mean, that's not bad. As long as you are making an effort to cover it, okay, but that effort needs to be made. But in terms of Mr. Piva's land, now obviously Timmy actually went to the back of his property, pretty much. He couldn't go any further. But his land can go back further. And if they want to make some money on this project, they should be willing to invest a little bit of money to send it back out of the eyesight of the residents that are there. And maybe you won't face any oppositions. That's all I guess I have to say.
Thank you, Mr. Grabowski. That's all the people that signed up for it. Would anybody else like to speak? I'll give them that opportunity.
I would.
Go ahead.
Hi, my name is Jennifer Lombardi, and I debated about whether to speak or not. And like I said, I'm not opposed to solar power, but I live at 4339 Williams Road with my husband Jason and my two sons Jacob and Jared. We will live directly across from the now proposed industrial solar plant on Williams Road. As a lifelong resident of the town of Lewiston, I chose to stay in this community and build my family home on a quiet country road, which would allow my children the freedom to walk or ride their bicycles without fear. My son Jared, who's here with me tonight, is multiply disabled, and he derives great pleasure from doing so while visiting all our neighbors up and down our friendly road. With the introduction of this proposed